How many times have you silently betrayed yourself just to earn a nod of approval from others? Perhaps more than once you've swallowed the truth, forcing yourself into silence when you should have spoken up, faking a smile at meaningless things, or uttering a yes while everything inside you screamed no. All those concessions were, in the end, only to maintain a fragile harmony, to be liked, to be accepted, to be seen as easygoing. But here is the tragedy. Every time you step back to please the crowd, a core part of you quietly breaks. You become more approachable, more controllable. But the brutal truth is that no matter how small you shrink yourself, they still don't truly see you. The world has never valued a person based on their obedience. People only begin to respect you when they see the boundaries you are willing to defend and the distance you are unafraid to walk away from to preserve your dignity. We often fall for a dangerous illusion, confusing being liked with being respected. But those two have never been the same. Are you living to keep the approval of others, or are you living to avoid losing your own self-respect? The more you chase the applause of the crowd, the further you drift from your core values. It is time to stop before you completely lose the last honest voice left inside you. If these words are hitting a void you've long tried to avoid, if you are tired of living on the crumbs of recognition falling from others' hands, then this is the moment for a clean break. Leave a comment, hit like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel as a silent vow to yourself. A vow that from now on, you will stop bowing, stop compromising, and start building a self-esteem that no longer depends on anyone's gaze. Welcome to Stoic Journey, where we don't lull each other with easy comforts, but strip away the masks to forge our true selves. And there is a cold, hard truth you must face. Respect doesn't naturally appear just because you have a good heart or harmless intentions. It comes from something more practical, tougher, and much more ruthless. There is a silent law that dictates how the world treats you, a mechanism that leaves no room for weakness or long-winded excuses. When you understand it, your very presence will carry a weight that makes others wary before you even speak. So, ultimately, what is this unspoken language that is silently deciding the level of respect you receive from the world? 1. The paradox between being liked and being respected. We often confuse a friendly smile with a nod of respect, but in reality, they belong to two completely different worlds. Being liked usually stems from the comfort and safety you provide to others, while respect is built upon the solidity and depth of your character. A person may be liked because they are gentle, approachable, and avoid friction. However, it is only when they possess clear boundaries, firm principles, and inner gravity that they are truly regarded with respect. This is where many begin to stumble. They trade their backbone for the sake of being likable. An invisible obsession haunts those who live in fear of displeasing others. Think back to those meetings where your ideas were dismissed as if they never existed, or conversations where your private space was invaded by careless mockery. Instead of speaking up to defend your limits, you chose to laugh it off, shrugging your shoulders and swallowing the no that was choking you. You believed that this humility would make you more beloved and keep you within the inner circle. But human psychology operates by a more brutal law. When you become too harmless and constantly avoid conflict, others begin to devalue your voice. This is the most dangerous trap of unconditional agreeableness. It does not open the door to understanding, it silently turns you into a presence of convenience. People seek you out not because they see your core value, but because being around you carries no risk, no friction, and nothing that forces them to adjust themselves. Little by little, you are interrupted, overlooked, and excluded from important decisions without anyone feeling the need to explain. The price of always trying to be a pleasant person is that one day you find you no longer have a real place within your own tribe. The harsh but necessary lesson is this: to build internal authority, you must train yourself to endure the discomfort of making others unhappy. Being a person of principle means daring to stand in the crowd without distorting yourself to fit anyone's expectations. Carl Jung once said that the greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But to reach that privilege, you must dare to strip off the mask of easy compliance that society encourages you to wear. You must dare to walk through the uncomfortable silences when others disagree with you. When you begin to live from the center of authenticity rather than the fear of rejection, superficial relationships built on exploitation will inevitably fall away. In exchange, you gain something far more precious: inner peace and an aura that prevents others from manipulating you at will. You are no longer a person kept around for convenience, but a presence with weight, calm enough not to need the love of everyone, yet solid enough to no longer be undermined by anyone. 2. Action creates authority, the truth about how the world works. That weapon does not lie in conversational charm, nor is it born from a heart that only harbors good intentions. There is a cold truth about how this world operates. People do not value you by how you feel about yourself, but by what you leave behind through your actions in reality. Society does not grant weight to invisible kindness or beautifully packaged promises. It only believes in what can be observed. Loyalty, reliability, and courage are never established through grand oaths. The authority of a person only truly takes shape through repeated actions in silence, in the space where words no longer cover and there is no audience left to impress. Look at those who truly command respect in any group. They don't walk into a room demanding attention. They don't waste energy promoting their virtues. While others are busy talking about responsibility, they are quietly staying behind to fix a leak that everyone else avoided. While the majority panics, they maintain their composure. While many hurry to justify their inconsistency, they silently fulfill what needs to be done. That aura does not come from noise. It is forged in discipline, in endurance, and in the way they show up most steadily during the worst moments. Conversely, those who constantly preach morality, explaining who they are and what they will become, are often the ones who reveal the most gaps. The more you try to prove yourself with words, the more the world senses that something is missing inside you, something strong enough to speak for itself through behavior. Marcus Aurelius struck at the very heart of this when he reminded us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is not just moral advice, it is a law of power. Respect is not something you beg for with goodwill. It is a living record carved by your choices, your discipline, and your own blood and sweat. Words, no matter how polished, can be carried away by the wind. But the way you stand tall amidst chaos, the way you uphold your responsibility when no one is watching, that will become the only evidence that forces the world to believe in who you are. Therefore, the fastest way to erase all doubt is not to speak more, but to stitch shut the gap between what you declare and how you live. Let consistency speak for you. Let decisive choices, clear boundaries, and unpretentious actions create your true voice. When your external life begins to align with your inner core values, you are no longer an individual trying to make an impression. You become a presence of weight. And from the moment words cease to take center stage, action becomes the only language that decides your standing in the eyes of the world. 3. The hidden price of compromise and losing oneself. Self-betrayal rarely begins with a massive event. It usually starts the moment you smile when you should have said no. It makes you believe that endurance is maturity, that swallowing your pride is wisdom, and that keeping the peace is always the right choice. Recall the times you sat in a crowd, watching someone casually breach your boundaries with an unjust decision or a disrespectful joke. You should have stopped it, but instead, you forced a smile, nodded it away, and suppressed the rising resistance in your chest. You told yourself it was to save the relationship or avoid awkwardness. But the truth is, every time you betray your honest voice to maintain a fake atmosphere, you are silently eroding your own internal structure. At first, the world seems to love this version of you. You are approachable, useful, and frictionless, always understanding exactly when others need you to be. But this is where the cold side of the crowd emerges. They stop listening. They step over your boundaries as if it's their right, and they treat your presence as a convenient void to be filled according to their whims. The true price of people-pleasing isn't just a loss of status, it is the collapse of internal trust. When you constantly dismiss your deepest needs, your mind learns a dangerous lesson, that your feelings don't matter, your boundaries are negotiable, and your true self must always retreat to make room for the satisfaction of others. Carl Jung once said that the greatest privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege is not gentle. It demands that you shed the easy shape the world wants to mold you into. You must accept that not everyone will stay once you start living more authentically, more clearly, and less pliably. Therefore, the first step to breaking these chains is not a loud rebellion, but the art of silent refusal. Next time you face a request that goes against your principles, don't react with your old reflex. Let a brief silence hang. Look the situation in the eye and give a short, calm no. Without long explanations, without sugarcoating your submission. Of course, it won't feel good. Watching others get upset, seeing relationships cool down, or leaving places that only welcomed you when you were obedient is a sharp sting to the ego. But that discomfort is a purifying fire. It burns away the version of you that lived in fear of rejection, forging a character that is no longer easily bent by fleeting emotions or collective pressure. When you accept the loss of superficial connections to keep your dignity, a quiet power begins to grow within. From that moment, you no longer live to be accepted. You live as someone who knows exactly who they are and exactly what must never be crossed. 4. The power of consistency. It is not sporadic talent or brief flashes of brilliance, but consistency that silently elevates a person into a presence of weight. In an era obsessed with speed, dramatic breakthroughs, and flashy displays, true strength wears a much quieter mask. The ability to show up on time, keep your word, and do what is right, day after day. Predictability here is not dullness. It is the mark of an orderly inner world. A consistent person doesn't overwhelm the world with grand promises. They provide a rare kind of power in a volatile world because their presence never deviates from their word. Think of the people who drain you the most. Passionate today, gone tomorrow. Intensely close one moment, cold the next. Trusting such a person is like building a house on sand. In contrast, a consistent person doesn't need to do much to impress. A single, sincere conversation might create initial rapport, but only a succession of sincere conversations builds trust. One kept promise creates appreciation, but hundreds of small promises kept in silence build an unbreakable reputation. In the end, the world doesn't bet on your potential. It bets on the pattern of behavior you repeat long enough to become evidence. The essence of authority is never forged during easy days. It is tested when you are tired, discouraged, provoked, or when no one is watching to applaud. Epictetus reminded us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This sounds simple, but it is a rigorous discipline, maintaining your principles even on the days your old instincts pull you back. This is where self-mastery enters as the steel core of consistency. A person cannot live steadily by their values if they surrender control to their emotions every time their ego is bruised or challenged. When facing mockery, insults, or situations designed to provoke an impulsive reaction, strength does not lie in hitting back harder. It lies in the cold gap between provocation and response. A steady gaze, a beat of silence, a brief and unadorned refusal. These speak louder than any long speech. Seneca did not praise the victor of every confrontation. He saw strength in the one capable of governing themselves. When you stop letting external circumstances pull your strings, you move from a reactive life into the territory of a master. This calmness is not weakness. It is proof that your inner world is in order and therefore no longer easily dragged into the chaos of others. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, finish what needs to be done in private, or defend a boundary without over-explaining, you are placing another stone in your foundation. Over time, these small acts cease to be habits and become your aura. People may not remember every word you said, but they will remember the feeling of standing before a person who cannot be shaken, cannot be bent, and cannot be pulled away from their axis of values. That is when credibility is no longer a fleeting impression, but a lasting weight. And once you have lived long enough with that weight, your presence itself becomes a declaration. 5. The art of establishing and enforcing personal boundaries. Most people only realize they have been overstepped when their inner peace is already run dry. Rarely does someone enter your life with a loud frontal assault. Instead, most erosions of self-respect begin with the smallest things. A demeaning joke at a dinner table, a work message sent at midnight as if your time were public property, or an unreasonable request tossed your way with such casualness that you yourself hesitate to wonder if you even have the right to refuse. And then, for fear of being seen as difficult, sensitive, or uncooperative, you smile it away. But in that very moment, you have unknowingly handed others a map to your territory. Once they see there are no real consequences, they will continue to encroach as if it were their natural right. Personal boundaries are never a minor detail in the journey of building dignity. They are the concrete form of self-respect in daily life. Marcus Aurelius warned that the soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts, and, by extension, what it habitually tolerates. When you repeatedly accept things that contradict your intuition and principles, your mind learns to view violation as normalcy. Confidence doesn't collapse in a single day. It is worn down through hundreds of instances of misplaced patience. Eventually, you don't just doubt your value, you doubt your very right to protect yourself. Setting a red line does not make you harsh. It simply proves you are lucid enough to distinguish between kindness and allowing others to walk over you. More important than announcing a boundary is the ability to enforce it. Many people state clearly what they won't tolerate, yet immediately retreat when faced with someone else's displeasure. Thus, their words lose weight from the very first instance. A boundary without a practical consequence is merely a wish expressed in words. The world doesn't learn to respect you through your complaints, but through what you resolutely refuse to enable any longer. Sometimes the strongest form of enforcement is not a heated confrontation, but a decisive withdrawal from a toxic pattern. A cold silence, a refusal to answer as you once did. A step back from a place that takes your compliance for granted. No table pounding, no long-winded explanations. Just action clear enough for others to understand that the door has closed. Naturally, those accustomed to benefiting from your submissiveness will not like this. They may call you selfish, cold, changed, or even ungrateful. But that is almost always the reaction of people upset because they no longer have access to the easy-to-use version of you. A proper boundary does not hurt decent people. It only forces relationships built on convenience and manipulation to reveal their true nature. This is the brutal but necessary filtering function of boundaries. They don't just protect you from intrusion, they help you see clearly who truly respects you and who is merely reacting to the fact that they can no longer use you. 6. Self-mastery, the root of wordless power. The hardest battle a human being ever fights never takes place out there. It erupts silently within. It is a common misconception that power belongs to those who can impose their will on others, forcing the crowd into hushed obedience. But Seneca looked through that illusion to touch a much colder core. The strongest person is the one who is not dragged along by themselves. True strength does not start with the ability to control external circumstances, but from the capacity to maintain control amidst the chaos of the mind. One may defeat another once through pressure, but only the master of self creates a lasting authority that requires no display. Think of a moment when someone intentionally needles you in a conversation, throwing out a sarcastic remark with the clear goal of baiting you into a reaction. The ego's instinct will immediately surge. It urges you to strike back, to explain, to speak louder, to reclaim face in that very instant. But the paradox is this: the more rushed your response, the more power you hand over to the other party. The moment your emotions are puppeteered, you are no longer the master of that space. Self-mastery, therefore, is not about gritting your teeth or forcing yourself to swallow anger. It is the ability to recognize that you have no obligation to show up to every argument, no need to step into every trap set to test your triggers, and certainly no need to garnish your refusal with a list of excuses to make others feel better. Wordless power begins in the gap between provocation and response. That gap is what differentiates a controlled person from a master. A steady, unwavering gaze. A beat of silence long enough for emotion to vacate the driver's seat. A decisive choice that you will not stoop to the level of the toxic behavior being thrown at you. This is not cold apathy. It is a high form of internal discipline. Epictetus pointed out that no man is free who has not learned to govern his own ego. And it is true. As long as you are pulled by impulses, vanity, or the fear of judgment, you are still living under the authority of the external world. When a person begins to control their habits, their words, and their energy, their presence changes instantly. They no longer react by inertia, no longer waste strength justifying every misunderstanding, and no longer view the approval of others as a condition for peace. They become harder to manipulate, not because they build high walls, but because there is order within. An orderly interior always creates a very clear impression. This is not a person who can be easily moved. From there, silence ceases to be the silence of the weak and becomes the sign of someone who knows exactly when to speak, and when silence already carries enough weight to speak for itself. 7. Earning respect through competence and results. After all the boundaries, self-mastery, and internal discipline, what ultimately prevents the world from overlooking you is real competence and real results. Not outward charisma, not polished promises, and certainly not grand declarations of who you intend to become. In an age where everyone wants to be seen instantly, it is easy to forget that the deepest respect always bows before something very old: verifiable value. The crowd may be swayed by appearances for a moment, but in the long run, they only believe in what remains standing after the trial. Observe any group, from a small team to a large organization, and see who truly carries weight. Usually, it is not the person who talks most about vision or the one constantly curating their image. It is the one who quietly finishes the hard task, maintains quality when no one is pushing them, and keeps moving through the most discouraging phases. While others are busy showcasing potential, they have silently converted potential into results. This persistent process creates a reputation that requires no promotion. You no longer have to ask others to recognize your value because your competence stands as its own witness. Real respect never grows from beautiful intentions on paper. It only appears when a person accepts the price of mastery. Repetition, stumbling, adjusting, and repeating again. Aristotle famously said that we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. This is not just a moral philosophy, it is the law of authority. You cannot build standing with a few flashes of brilliance. Only when meticulousness becomes your standard, persistence becomes your instinct, and quality becomes the one thing you refuse to compromise on, will the world begin to look at you with different eyes. In a crisis, this law reveals itself more clearly than ever. When the crowd is confused, arguing, and looking for someone to blame, the person who keeps a cool head, finds the exit, and completes what needs to be done, immediately separates themselves from the rest. No excuses needed, no image building required. Results carry the weight of truth. A tangible achievement always speaks louder than any speech because it forces others to face reality instead of emotion. This is why truly competent people rarely waste time arguing for status. They understand that the only thing that cannot be denied is the footprint they leave in reality. To reach this level of respect, you must learn to endure the silence of the process. Most people don't fail for lack of potential, but because they cannot stand the monotony of discipline. They want to be acknowledged before they are good, cheered before they are solid, and want to pick the fruit before the roots have struck deep into the earth. But you cannot follow that path. Reclaim all the energy once wasted on explaining, proving, and seeking approval, and pour it into building an irreplaceable competence. When you truly become good, truly produce results, and truly maintain that performance long enough, your presence will carry its own weight. No need to beg for respect, no need to hunt for recognition, because by then, your life has become the evidence. In the end, when a person attains self-mastery and genuine competence, they realize a profoundly liberating truth. Respect is never something that can be begged for, pleaded for, or seized through superficial displays. You cannot force the world to bow before you with sharp but hollow words, clever social tactics, or by exhausting yourself trying to please everyone. Lasting respect emerges as a natural consequence. It is born from discipline, from clear boundaries, and from a life lived so consistently that you no longer need to explain who you are. When your thoughts, words, and actions align, your presence inherently carries weight. The world may doubt a promise. It may dismiss an idea while it's still just a breath on your lips. But it is very difficult to continue denying a person who has persistently turned everything they believe into reality. People may envy a flash of brilliance, but they eventually fall silent before a mountain built from thousands of days of not giving up. Seneca reminded us that the path to true maturity is never smooth. There will be days when you walk in doubt, in solitude, and in the feeling that no one understands what you are struggling to uphold. But it is the act of not abandoning yourself in those dark stretches that creates the strength others can feel. Credibility. And as others begin to believe in your solidity, you will no longer live in a hunger for recognition. You won't need to chase anyone's gaze or the approval of the crowd or justify the path you've chosen. You become an anchor, a presence that causes others to naturally adjust how they treat you, not because you demanded it, but because your life has established that standard. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be honest enough not to betray your core principles, and disciplined enough to live by them even when no one is watching. So, stop over-explaining. Reclaim the energy currently leaking into defending yourself against opinions, softening expectations, and seeking external approval. Pour all of it back into building a life that is solid, clear, and weighty. Eventually, the way you show up, the way you work, and the way you navigate adversity will speak for everything. No noise, no display. Just be real enough, persistent enough, and steady enough so that your life creates a sound heavier than any words. If this has resonated with something deep inside you, if you were tired of living just to be accepted and are ready to begin forging an unshakable self, leave a comment below as a vow to yourself. Hit like, share this video, and subscribe to Stoic Journey to continue this path of stripping away illusions, building inner strength, and living with clearer dignity every day. And if you're ready to take the next step, the video on your screen is waiting for you. Click it, keep moving, and from this day forward, let your actions begin to write the legacy that no one else can live for you.